Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt here once again in the Toxic Studios.
There.
Oh, where? Oh, there I was.
He turned us off on purpose.
He did.
I'm offended.
He did.
Oh my God! I thought Mike was wearing a tie for a second. Sorry, not to
very close.
Cut you off, but like just a quick glimpse. I thought you were wearing a tie. I was going to say, wow, this is like really moving forward here.
Well, that was a nice segue.
Sorry about that.
I have to be classy for you guys.
Yeah, you know.
Mike is dressed up because tonight, for the first time, we are actually live.
We're live video.
In Facebook.
That's why.
Is it in Facebook or on Facebook?
On.
Who knows?
Get with the program.
It's funny that you say that because I was just watching that Social Network movie. The one about like how he like
he's canceled. We don't like him.
But anyway, yeah. But that's why I wore my camo, and no one can see if they're watching a video. But I have camo pants on too, so you can barely see.
He's
me.
not wearing any pants.
All right. I have camo tattoo from the waist down.
Oh boy,
that's gross.
You're welcome.
Well, as you guys can hear, and if you're on
Rick hasn't said anything yet.
If you're on Facebook, you can see. With me is Mr. Doug Hogate.
Oh yeah.
Miss Jenna B.
Yo-hos.
And on the line with us is our special guest this evening, the Fish Man himself from the Heavy Metal Happy Hour. Fish, are you there?
Hey, Heidi ho there, neighbors.
Now, are you wearing pants? That's the question.
I do have pants, and you can see mine because they're not camouflage.
Okay, all right, perfect. Gotcha.
So joining us,
what's happening?
Yeah,
joining us is the Fish Man for tonight to talk about some sea creatures. What do you think, Fish? You in for this?
I'll do the best I can.
Just react to whatever we do. It's all I do all night.
It was Mike call weed talk or pot talk or whatever. So
our pot talk.
Pot talk. Yeah. So.
So
perfect.
Yeah, but, hey, if we're doing any kind of pot talk, then Fish needs to be involved.
Amen.
Yeah, we might get there. Ew,
I look huge.
You look huge. What do you
think?
Thank
you.
Listen,
oh my God, good one. Got that. Good deal.
Oh Lord, I look huge on the camera. Don't you have a slimming tool or a filter, Michael?
This isn't Instagram.
Gosh, give me cat ears.
These millennials, I just can't.
I am not a millennial. I was born in '91.
That makes you a millennial.
But real quick, not to get off topic, but I look at it like this. The way I look at it, because I look at it from the age of 5 years old to 15, whatever decade you're majority in, that's where you should be considered.
Mm-hmm. So 90s.
So
yeah,
you get what I'm saying.
Well,
so
that for me that would span from 1976 to 86.
So for me that would span from 1991 to like I don't know 2005.
Good job.
I just hit the big 3-4. I mean, I should
91
retire
to
here.
2005.
I was born in 86.
That's 15
Rick,
years.
86.
Oh boy.
I can't tell you what I was doing in 1986.
Do you remember what you were doing in 1986?
I remember some of it.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that's all that matters.
Well, Fish, it's interesting you bring that up because before we get into all the paranormal talk, I want you to talk a little bit about your show because your show is one of the last bastions of sensibility in the music world.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. I've watched. I'm going to hear a shitload from Genevieve right now.
Oh.
I've watched these music AMA awards, the Grammys, dude. It's all rap.
Yes,
it's all people who feel sorry for themselves and want to sing about it.
And everybody's got a message that they probably have no fucking clue what they're talking about.
Everything has to be a social message now.
Right.
Fish, your show is not about that, right?
Not at all, man. Not at all. My show is just pure hard rock, heavy metal, good times, back to when it was 1980 something. And the music was just a party. Nobody was being depressed and staring at their feet going, poor me, poor me. No, it was, let's live it up, let's party, let's get down, and just, you never know when you're going to die, so just fucking enjoy it.
And not to mention, too, I've always said, you know, with music nowadays, it's like back in those days with the hard rock, you know, you actually have a group of people that are actually have talent making what you hear happen. It's not, you know, computerized. It's not, you know, all because of how you look or anything like that. I mean, it's actual effort. I mean, even in the writing. I mean, I was at work the other day and I heard a song come on, and I swear the word telephone was said in it like 50,000 times.
Living in
And
my
I know-
telephone. Lady
You know what I
Gaga,
mean?
good song. Shut up.
But the fact of the matter is yeah, like, you know, you have a group of people, they actually have talent, raw talent, and it's not using computer things to make it sound like it is. I mean,
well, you know what's funny? Taryn and I had this conversation a few days ago. If you think back, Fish, and you'll appreciate this. If you think back to a top 40, any top 40 in let's say the 80s to the early 90s, out of that top 40, I guarantee you at least 30, maybe 32 songs were about getting laid.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That was what you sang about. You either were doing it, you wanted to do it, you had just done it. That's what it was all about.
Hey, yeah.
There was no feelings.
Wondering where you were going to dip your wick next.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. Live your best.
Man, I want to dip my wick.
I'm gonna use that tomorrow.
I apologize. I stared right at Genevieve as I said
Oh
that.
my gosh. Yeah.
Nasty.
Michael.
I
apologize.
The best part is we got that on video now.
Yeah.
It's all on video.
I want to go buy candles after this now.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
So this.
Yeah, man. I mean, my show started out just out of a love of music and the ability to find people to share this music with that I had discovered and said, wow, this is really cool. I think you're going to like this. Check this out and give it a shot. And 9 times out of 10, I was right in the fact that I knew they were going to like it. And that's what I still do today. I just keep finding stuff, and I just want to share, man. That's it. I love music, everything about rock. I mean, there was guys that they do a Saturday show before mine, the Shock Culture Now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with one of the hosts. I was playing an old Deep Purple track, and we were just listening, and I'm talking about, they were doing this when they wrote it. The guitar player was thinking this, and this came out then, and this is how it went down, and we just got lost in it, and it was just an organic, totally cool thing. I almost said orgasmic, but it was kind of.
Still, I mean,
And
yeah, that kind of
it's
fits
just
in.
The feeling you get of sharing the what you love the most and finding people that dig it is what keeps me going.
You know, and one more thing I want to add to it too. Just came to when back when I was 18, 19 years old, I actually did, and Jen, I know you'll remember this. I did an apprenticeship at WMMR for about a year and a half, and I worked primarily under Sean Teisler, Sean the Rabbi. He was the music director, but I had the privilege of actually working a little bit with Pierre Robert. And the few times that I actually worked with him, you know, he always carried in, it was funny, his briefcase had nothing but old vinyl. It was like all he had was the vinyl records in there.
Right.
But I remember one time we spent almost a half the time I was there, and he would take like a song that was present at that time and be able to say, oh, if you listen to that and you go back and listen, like a lot of songs nowadays, they are portraying, or they're the same thing from these songs that are back from like the 50s, the 60s. I mean, even way back to like jazz. And that's what they nowadays, and that's one of the things like made me realize is the fact that, you know, a lot of the talent nowadays are using these old tracks and these old songs that this generation nowadays wouldn't really know much of.
Right.
So it's like thinking that they're unique in what way, but it's all goes back to way, you know, decades ago.
Yeah,
So-
but think of it this way: music evolves. It's
Well,
it's going to continue to evolve. When Rick was 16, listening to, I don't know, Guns N' Roses. Sure, okay.
Sure, let's go with that.
There you go.
Your parents are probably like, this crap. This freaking crap. You know what I mean? Like, they probably
But
thought
here-
it was as annoying as you
I'm
think
sure they did.
Lady
But
Gaga
here's
is.
That's
but
not
here,
music.
Yeah.
but here's the difference, and Doug touched on it a few minutes ago. Yes, I'm sure every generation for decades back thought that their kids' music was crap. That's what people thought of Elvis
Look
Presley.
what they thought
and-
about Kiss. I
and
mean,
whatever.
yeah, like, you know.
But here's the difference. Nowadays, it's not actually made by musicians.
Right.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
So you lost.
Shut up, Mike.
You lost that aspect of it somewhere. I don't even know where you lost it. Somewhere in the 90s and in the early 2000s.
I think so. Yeah, when computers started to really
right,
be
like
used
you had people that were writing songs and playing drums and playing guitar and doing all that stuff,
making an effort.
A stadium show. You can't have a stadium show. I watched the entire Grammys. Was it a month ago or whatever it was?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I tweeted something or I put something on Facebook like, "Where's the rock and roll?"
Right. It's all
there's not a
single
but
rock and roll
the
song.
thing is, there is still albums being made, rock albums.
Yeah, I know there are.
Yeah,
like
no
in
doubt.
the 90s, like Green Day is about to drop a whole new album. Like that's like my back in the
That's
day.
debatable rock and roll.
Okay, whatever.
Corn,
but still,
Corn's still kicking ass.
They aren't as popular as they were. So the Grammys are not going to emphasize on that because that's not what people are listening to.
Because all the people watching them, there's the millennials that are whiny little bitches.
Yeah.
Listen,
Whoa,
I like it all.
Shots fired.
I like it all. I like literally country to rock to frickin' pour some sugar on me. That's my jam.
Even death metal? Are you down with death metal?
That like stuff.
I know that song.
Me too. I just wrote it.
It's called Diggity Boo or whatever she just said.
Diggity boo, diggity bee.
Diggity Boo, yeah.
Now, Fish, one of the things about your... Go ahead. You want to say something?
You guys say that, but if you check out the Heavy Metal Happy Hour with the Fishman Live Saturday nights at 7 o'clock on Toxic Radio, I do play a lot of the newer local, I use the term local in quotations, rock bands that are doing what they used to do, writing and spending time in the studio and honing their craft and practicing and making sure that what they do in the studio, they can still produce live without all the machines and all that shit. I mean, there's great bands out there. 86 Bullets is one we play on the station all the time. They're terrific out of Baltimore. Rat Rod from Philly, South Jersey area, right there where we're located. They're another great band that we play a lot of. So there are some bands that are still trying that. And Color of Chaos out of Arizona, for Christ's sakes. They're amazing. So it's all the stuff that you're being force-fed on FM radio, the same 50 songs over and over again every single day. I mean, the new Ozzy album, I love the new Ozzy album, but that is one of the most overproduced albums to ever be made.
Right.
But it's really good writing. It's got some good musicianship on it. I mean, Duff McKagan's on there. Chad Smith plays on there. Slash does some stuff. I mean, so there's some good stuff out there, and we just need to open it back up and bring that back to the forefront. And Dee Snider, who I'm trying to get on the show, is also pushing a lot to get AC/DC to play the Super Bowl halftime show next year.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah.
And Dee,
right?
Yeah, and Dee Snider, he's big in that too, trying to push. And that's one of the things, real quick, I'd love to say that I do love about your show, Fishman, is the fact that you do, promote a lot of that local, local band, so to speak, to bring that. And not only that, you're bringing in the past as well as bringing in the new. So that's one of the cool things, that variety of it. So that's one thing I got to say I love about the show, especially.
It's everything from your hair days to today.
Fish, do you notice a younger generation listening to your show? Can you figure that?
There are a few younger cats that dig the show. I mean, most of the people we find when we're out at events and stuff like that are, your age and my age. I'm a little older than y'all. So we're still really pushing now.
But we're still pretty. We're still pretty, Fish.
You can see we are still pretty. I got great hair, man. So, I mean, there are some younger kids that are into it. You see it at some of the big concerts you go to, like this M3 Fest that we're going to. Every year there's an array of people from, like, I took my kid when he was 10 there, and I see kids younger than that there and that are totally into it and rocking and banging their heads and throwing up the horns.
Yeah.
So it's still alive. It's, my style of music, the big hair metal stuff, is a lot of people look at it as granny rock, or it's just overrated bubblegum rock, but again, it was just a fucking good time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it brings back, the memories of all those good times.
Absolutely.
Get you pumped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
All right, so
Sure.
let's move on here to some paranormal talk. So Fish, you're on.
Well, thanks, brother.
You're on a. Yeah, no problem, man. We'll revisit the music a little bit later on. But a paranormal show is where you're sitting here now. So Fish, have you ever had something happen to you that you would consider paranormal?
Other than meeting us.
Yeah, well.
No, that's about the most paranormal thing I've ever experienced.
Never seen a ghost.
No,
never.
I mean, I've never had anything like that really happen to me. Now, my son had something happen to him one time, and I was like, wow, okay, that's weird. We were staying in an apartment, and I had walked past the bathroom, and he was talking, and we were like, he was probably 2, 3, something like that.
Oh, so he was
and
young,
it's like, who the hell is he talking to? Well, he said he was in the bathroom talking to my father, who had passed away about a year prior to that.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. And then he said the toilet paper roll moved and all this stuff. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
you know, with all the death I've had in my family, I've lost everyone in my family. Wow. It's just me. Yeah. And with that, I would think that for sure I would get a visit at some point, but nothing yet.
They're just messing with you. So, well, I mean, at that point, you say 2, 3 years old. You know, it's funny because people say that sometimes, like, oh, they're just kids, they have imaginations. But the thing of it is, kids that young don't have an agenda. They don't know to lie about such things. So if he was going to make up a lie about something, why would it be that? You know, so I tend to believe those stories from kids that young more than I believe an adult telling me a story like that.
Especially when I even at that age, it's still young enough to where, because believe it or not, there was a case I remember I had years ago where but I'm talking this child was probably like maybe like I think it was around 7 or 8 years old, and the parents would try to say, oh, they're pointing out my father in a photo album, but it's like the parent was trying to suggest and pushing that.
Right.
So, you know, still, even at 2 years old, you could push, but I still think that's still a little bit young to be able to, in a sense, you know, I guess it all depends on the child, but it's still that power of suggestion still isn't quite there yet. They're going to say it as it is or whatnot. So it's been very interesting that you know, happened. So.
All right.
And that brings to mind, there's a video that came out, I guess, last week or the week before of a little girl at a cemetary. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yes,
where she blows a kiss and stuff like that. I mean, wow, that gave me chills. And there's no way that was fake.
Right. And that's the same thing with your son. Like, it's that about the same age and the same ideas. Like, why would she be lying?
Right.
Where would she even get the idea to lie about such a thing?
Yeah, what gain is it?
Right.
You know? Right.
Yeah. So. All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we take our first break here, and when we come back on the flip side, we will do some para-news. We'll do a game we call Stump Skeptic Mike, and we'll get Fishman involved in commenting on some of these stories.
That'll be
right on.
That should be fun.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, back in a few.
All right.
We're back here on Paradelphia on Toxic Radio.
And since we're on video, I had to run down to grab, we don't sponsor them, I had to grab my beep so that way I could have a cool, refreshing drink.
Doug grabs his beep all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway.
So Fish, you still there?
He left us.
He disappeared.
He said, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
I hear it laugh. There we go.
Fish, man. You still...
I am here.
There you are. So Fish, while we were on this, 15-minute break here, your daughter has thrown you under the bus.
Yeah, she's mouthy.
She has. She is in the chat room.
In this case,
typey. She has told us at least, I don't know, 5 different stories of paranormal shit going on in your house when she was younger.
Yeah, but I don't remember half of that stuff.
Because Fish was the one doing it.
Yeah, I was going to consider thinking.
It was like a Scooby-Doo. They pulled a mask off and it was Fish.
It was him. It's like
some ghost kept on leaving fish guts all over the place.
So Fish, can you read what she's writing, or you want me to read it to you? Well, the people listening can't.
No, I read it.
Yeah, so the people listening obviously
I told
can't.
her, I said I should hang up so they can call in. They know all these stories.
I mean, it's a lot. Like the things that she's writing, it's just like one after another. Like there's all kinds of things.
So we'll go over a couple quick ones here. She mentions a guy that was obviously apparently named Bob, that was living in the house, quote unquote, living in the house, that would mess with you guys, turn lights off and on when she was younger.
Messing with my son, yeah.
Messing with
supposedly.
your son, yeah.
Yeah.
She would smell cookies baking all the time, and you guys weren't baking cookies.
No, she'd never bake me cookies.
Maybe Bob did it. One never knows.
Right.
What's another one here? She said when she was 3, she described. This is really interesting. When she was 3, she described 2 men in detail to, I guess, your wife, and turns out that the men that she described looked exactly like 2 of her grandfathers who she had never seen.
That's what I'm being told.
Fish doesn't want to know about the 2 men that she saw.
It sounds to me because like she also just put something on about another experience that she's had, but like it sounds to me like, and I'm sure if Jean was here, she would probably maybe kind of agree with me, but I mean, who knows? Maybe your daughter has some kind of, gift or whatever that she's experiencing these things when, maybe everyone else isn't, so to speak, or whatnot. And either that or when she was younger, she was having some kind of poltergeist kind of experience.
Well, his son did, too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially the whole fact that she had mentioned something about the guy that owned the townhouse. His dad's name was Bob, and he had passed away in the house years prior to all that. So,
well, let me throw a theory out there, Fish. And I'm going to ask you a question first. Do you and have you throughout your life believed in things like this, the paranormal, ghosts, things like that, or have you been a skeptic?
No, I've pretty much been a skeptic my life.
Okay. So now I'll pose this to Doug, because Doug's worked with investigations and things. And I don't know this because we're not talking to his daughter, but if his son and daughter believed in that stuff and they were into it and they at least had an open mind to it, whereas he didn't, would that be something that would manifest to them more readily than to him because he had his mind closed off to it?
I mean, yeah, you do. I've dealt with a lot of cases where that's been, I mean, it would at least, first of all, take a while to schedule, because you would have a parent figure or something and say, no, get out of here, that's not the case or whatnot. And a lot of times it could be just the simple fact that maybe he's not experiencing it, and everyone else is, and it's kind of like, where he's has that skeptic mindset that maybe something is going on, and he's just as normal what somebody else would do, who is skeptics think, okay, that's this, and they're just not paying attention to it, to where it also could be on the other hand, maybe they had one experience once, are they making that one experience turn out to be that everything unusual that's going on is paranormal to them when really it's not. You kind of see,
right?
It could be both sides of it. I mean, it just, but it's tough to call with a situation like that,
So let me ask you this now, Fish, and I'm throwing under the bus here, but it's been years. Yeah. Statute of limitations is well over now. Have you ever tripped?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you did, have you ever seen anything weird?
Nothing that I would say would be any type of paranormal kind of thing. I mean, I never had any really wicked hallucinations of stuff that would really blow me away. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I've seen walls breathe and carpets move and stuff like that, but no real, visitation or anything like that.
Yeah, because a lot of times when people take hallucinogens or take psychedelics, they tend to see, I mean, fill in the blank. It could be aliens, it could be creatures, it could be gnomes and pixies. Right. It could be a lot of things.
Right.
Ghosts, whatever. Mm-hmm. But they tend to see entities, basically, is the idea. And the thought process behind that is that it is literally, well, it's not a thought process. It's scientifically what's happening is your brain temporarily is being rewired. by the drug.
It's kind of like opening maybe another sense, so to speak.
If you think of your brain as and we've talked about this many times, if you think of your brain as a radio that is only able to dial in, let's say, Philadelphia stations, and you take a drug, and then your radio is rewired to now you can pick up Maryland and Cincinnati and Boston.
Right.
And now you're getting radio stations from all over the place in the East Coast, whereas you couldn't before. And then when the drug wears off, you're back to just here in Philly.
It's like subscribing to like NFL package instead of getting local. You're getting, I mean, in a sense, that's but just to kind of give the idea, because like you said, we've had that discussion many times. I mean, look at like, for example, I think it was LSD. It was a government drug that they initially used to get people to kind of confess things, like like. To try to get them to confess things, all of a sudden became a street drug and whatnot. But, that was during all that time when the government used psychics to guess different tactics from the enemy and stuff. So it's, what does it, do?
And the unspoken question there is, because of what's happening scientifically to your brain, is this reality? Are these things really there? Like you say, you didn't see an entity, but you saw walls move and breathe and carpets move and all that stuff. So, okay, you didn't see an entity, but you did see some strange stuff. Okay,
sure.
That could be just what you saw. It could be the way it affected your particular brain. Maybe it didn't reach Boston and Kansas City. Maybe your brain, for whatever reason, on that drug just reached Baltimore or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it only did so much to you where you could see some of it. But even what you saw, is that really what's happening? Because of because there's radio waves all over the place. Even though my radio doesn't hear the Boston station,
right?
The waves are there. I just can't pick that up. It doesn't mean they're not there,
right?
So it's not that these things aren't around us. It's that we just can't perceive them until and unless we change our physiology, which is what these drugs are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thought experiment.
Right, it's funny because
I should do more drugs.
Yeah, well, it's
bottom
funny.
line is
I've had people actually ask me in the past, like, you should let me come on an investigation and like high or something like that, or eat drunk or whatever, just to see what it's like. Unfortunately, because of liability issues, but I get the mindset of it.
Yeah, I get the liability, and it would be an interesting experiment.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like there's a double-edged sword here. It's just like good, but
what I would say to that is, I wouldn't bring someone and have them get high or whatever,
or a residential case or something.
However, if you were investigating my house, or you were investigating Fish's house or whatever, and we walk in there and Fish chose on his own to take psychedelics in his own home.
Now that's a different story.
Then that's a different story. Then we could get information from him, and we're not putting him in a bad place.
Then
he's not putting us in a bad place.
Yeah, then I would take full advantage of that. Yeah, a situation like that.
But you would have to have somebody that was willing to do something like that, and that's rare, I guess.
I've gotten there's
So when are we going to try this?
Hey, I was going to say, like I said, there's all kinds of things, including this. I've always, not myself, but it's been an interesting thing. Like, what kind of experience or reaction could you get on an investigation? Having somebody, under that influence of, will they experience more? And also, it's almost like the experiments we do with Jean while she's doing a reading, using all of the equipment to get the environment. But in this case, seeing what kind of, reaction, what kind of evidence collecting from someone having experience under that influence.
It would be interesting
to back it up.
It would be interesting to have Jean there and have her get separately, get whatever she gets from the investigation, and have, let's just use Fish as an example. If he was in his own home and doing psychedelics, have him do that and get whatever he got and compare notes and say, okay, what did you see? What did you see?
It would be a bit, I'm telling you, like, that is something I'd be all for. That would be a badass kind of experiment. Like you said, it's just, getting the right people to be willing to do something like that.
Fish.
Yeah, exactly. Because, again, I think that would be a fantastic experiment. All for scientific reasons, of course, for anyone listening.
Amen.
All of a sudden, Mike pipes up.
Yeah.
Amen. Let's go get these shrooms.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Imagine telling that to a drug dealer.
What do you think, Mike? You want to do some? Want to do some para news?
Paranews.
Paranews.
I don't even know what that is anymore.
Let's go for
We
it.
are Paranews.
From the four corners of planet Earth, from the far reaches of the known universe, you can run, but you cannot escape. Paradelphia News.
Why did you pay this guy so much money when I could have did it?
Why do you interrupt it?
Oh, shut up. You've been talking this whole time.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Can I throw something at him?
It's like Wally and the Beaver arguing over it.
Who? I'm just kidding. I know who that is.
You're the beaver.
I'm just joking. Just leave it to Beaver. I love it. I love it. Just kidding. It's on that show, that old person.
You'd be the
Show.
beaver.
Leave it to Beaver.
You'd be
No, I know the show, but it's on that station, TV Land, the old station.
Try having her as your sister.
Old station.
the old station, the old folks
Yeah,
station.
TV Land?
My God.
Oh, my back.
So, if there was an origin to me doing this show and doing stuff in the paranormal, it would be a book that I read about 10 years ago. And I came across an article the other day that apparently this is the anniversary of the publication of that book, and I thought it would be interesting to bring this up today.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, I've always been interested. I've told this story many times. I've been interested since I was a kid. I saw, In Search of, and used to love old horror movies and stuff like that. So it was in my DNA, so to speak, forever.
Right.
But in more recent years, the book called The Crypto-Terrestrials that was written by a guy named Mac Tonys back in the late '00s, the aughts.
Sounds like a pizza place.
2000s.
Mac Tonys.
He unfortunately passed away right after the publication of this book. He was a young guy. He was like 31 or 2 years old, I believe.
Okay, wow.
But the ideas he poses in this book are very, very interesting because he kind of ties the UFO subject in with like fairy lore, in with ghosts. He kind of ties it all together.
Puts it all. Okay, yeah, right.
So in late 2010, Mac Tonys put out the Crypto-Terrestrials. And basically, like Jacques Vallée, and John Keel did the Mothman prophecies.
Right, yep.
Tonys rightly recognized that UFO encounters cannot all be dismissed as ravings of lunatics, the tales of the fantasy-prone or the fabrications of those seeking fame and fortune, but also, like Keel and Vallée, Tonys was careful not to get sucked into the near-viral mindset of practically, screaming every time an alien ship came across and the Greys and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did, rather, was he chased down a UFO theory that he called them euphonauts, may actually represent the last vestiges of a very ancient race of distinctly terrestrial origin.
Okay.
A race that tens of thousands of years ago may have actually ruled our planet, but whose position of power was thrown into overwhelming chaos by two things. Number one, the appearance of a debilitating genetic syndrome that ravaged their society, and number two, the rising infestation of a violent species that threatened to eclipse in numbers their own society, a.k.a. us, humans.
Gotcha, okay, right.
All right, so he called these the Crypto-Terrestrials, and the violent species obviously was us. So with their society waning and their health and the ability to eventually successfully reproduce collapsing, and their absolute worst nightmare, which was us, becoming the new gang, so to speak, in town, the Crypto-Terrestrials followed what was perceived as the only viable option. They quietly retreated into the shadows, into the darkened corners of the world, below the oceans, into the deepest caverns that pepper the planet, and into their own uniquely silent, or in their own uniquely and silent, detached way, they set about a new course of action. That course of action, given that they were in some fashion genetically related to us, was to eventually resurface, to move stealthily among us, and to pass themselves off as entities from far-off worlds, protect and hide their real points of origin, and use and exploit us medically, a.k.a. abductions.
Abductions, yep.
In order to attempt to try and inject their waning DNA into us to basically propagate their species.
Right, okay.
All right? So in addition, Tonys believed the Crypto-Terrestrials were, and by definition still are, subtle yet brilliant cosmic magicians. For them, however, there was no top hat from which a white rabbit is pulled. There's no hot chick sliced in half, then miraculously rejoined at the waist. Their tricks were far more fantastic. As well as deceiving us about their origin, these Crypto-Terrestrials have, via perhaps the use of advanced holographic-style technology, mind manipulation, and more, led us to conclude that they have an infinite number of crafts, resources, and technologies at their disposal. And that's the trick, because the reality is their numbers are very, very small. So the idea is that they put these ideas in our head. If they put a UFO hologram out there and millions of people see it, and they do it often enough that people will think that we're being invaded, quote unquote, by these aliens, when really there might be only a handful of these creatures there that are
exactly.
doing this.
It makes it seem like you said, like this whole entire planet or species is visiting us when, like you said, there's only really a few.
Right.
Yeah.
So the argument in support of this theory basically goes on to talk about alien abductions, their clumsy, intrusive means by which they're taking our genetic material, splicing it in with theirs, again, to kind of try and figure out a way to let their species or make their species go on.
Just kind of continue on using, or storing, storing.
Using us.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And Tony's also noted how the quote-unquote aliens seem to spend a significant amount of time ensuring that they are seen, whether it's taking soil samples at the side of a road, equipping their craft with bright flashing lights, or hammering home the point to the abductees that they are from this planet, or they are from this planet, aren't from this planet, I'm sorry, from a star system far off in the galaxy, just about anywhere and everywhere aside from right here.
Right.
Roswell actually came into the equation too. Those who do not adhere to the extraterrestrial hypothesis for Roswell point to the fact that many of the witness descriptions of what was found at Roswell are collectively suggestive of some form of large balloon-type structure having come down at the ranch in New Mexico in 1947. And what he talks about is the possibility that the ETs would be flying around New Mexico in a balloon, because that might be part of what their technology consists of.
Right.
Because while they have the technology, the high-tech stuff, they also don't have a whole lot of it. And if they want to get from point A to point B, maybe they have to use stuff like balloons, and maybe something did, in fact, crash like that. So he kind of cuts the difference there and says, yes, it is a strange creature. No, it is not from Zeta Reticuli or someplace millions of light years away.
Right.
But yes, they might actually be using technology that is our own technology, balloons and that type of thing.
Hence why a lot of times if you look, all the theories out there, one of the biggest theories that I seem to always hear is that when there's a lot of these UFO sightings, so to speak, a lot of them seem to always be around like nuclear power plants, and it's because the theory is, are they kind of harvesting that nuclear power to fuel whatever craft that they're using, because that's just their way of getting around.
Or are they checking us to make sure we don't use it ourselves?
Exactly.
Because it'll blow their asses up too.
And that's one of the crazy things about it, because again, all of these different theories that I know we've discussed on the show, as well as that, I've heard, whether watching a documentary or some, like Ancient Aliens or whatnot, is the fact that whether it be, this one, species, or whether it even be the fact, like we've talked about here, is it just basically us from the future coming back? But still, that could also go with what you were just talking about. Let's say, what if it's, these extraterrestrials that we see, these crafts that we're seeing, could it possibly be us? Maybe we have come in contact with a species, they've gotten our DNA, we're more aware of it, and we're coming back to, in a sense, like you said before, where if we're visiting, maybe it's just kind of like a field trip in time, or maybe coming back just to kind of see the origin of how it all started or whatnot. So a lot of these things we've talked about, and a lot of these theories out there, do definitely support the main idea of that, is, whether how you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Or again, if you have this species, are there about 20 other ones too? So it's really, crazy to think about.
So normally I go to Mike for a skeptical point of view, but Fish, since you're the skeptic on board today, what do you think about all this?
I mean, I don't know what to believe on that. I grew up in El Paso, so I've been to Roswell. I've been to White Sands and all that, and I never saw nothing. The only aliens, never mind.
Well, that's big business out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. They've all commercialized the whole thing
Right.
now about at Roswell. You know, it's
Right. But you have to expect that.
Oh,
Yeah, we were there,
absolutely,
I think, in 86,
Yeah.
85, 86, I think we went there.
because other than that, if they didn't, if you think about it, if you take away the Roswell alien UFO crash, what's Roswell, New Mexico have to offer? I mean, that's what I can imagine.
Not much,
Yeah,
man.
right.
But the reality is, you say you grew up there in 85, or you were out there in 85, 86. That's not too far after Roswell came into the public consciousness.
Yeah,
Because for years after that happened, when that first happened in 1947, it was a huge deal. It was in the papers. It was all over the place for a week or two.
and that was it.
And then it went away.
Right.
And it was just not ever talked about for literally decades.
And if it was brought up in whatever case, it was always stopped. I mean, that was with the big controversy
And
with the government.
the end of the end of the 70s, early 80s, I think it was 79, 80, there was a book published about the Roswell incident, and that kind of kickstarted everyone's interest in it
Right.
all over again. So when you're talking about 85, 86, you're only talking about 5 or 6 years after that was kind of brought back into the consciousness of, the general public.
When I was
Well, I was
6.
there 78 to 88. So,
Okay. So you were there during all that time.
I mean, that's also
Yeah.
and that's not only that. I mean, I'm having a brain fart right now, but the other
That's hot.
UFO, I know the other UFO incident that took place like Roswell, but that is not something that you hear as much about. We talked about on the show. We had a show topic on it one time. Remember there was a I'm totally having a blank on what it was,
Yeah, I
but
know what you're talking
again, it's like, and I've actually had
the one that crashed on the bluff out in Arizona.
exactly.
Or
And
New
I've
Mexico.
had people who actually have listened to the show and have heard that episode actually, ask me. They said, wow, I never knew that there was another incident like that.
There's a lot of incidents.
I mean, and that's the thing. And I've actually said that to them. I said, believe it or not, if you really dig into it,
yeah.
there are a lot of incidents. Like Roswell is like the big one, but there's so many.
Right.
Same thing with like that ranch where it's just like the center of everything with
Right.
hauntings and UFOs and
There's going to be a reality show out there.
I saw that.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, Skinwalker Ranch. I mean,
Right.
yeah, and like and that seems to be the whole central eyes of everything paranormal. So. But yeah, definitely interesting. I still want to go to the moon if NASA. If anyone from NASA's listening, I'd love to go to the moon.
Please send him.
I got a moon for you.
Takes not that many.
Oh.
Mike, wait till we go off the air. Then keep the cameras rolling. Maybe we can put on a show.
So
Wear a tie.
So we're not going to the moon. But next story I have talks a little bit about the sun.
That's too hot.
You
I
can
don't
go
have
there.
one of those.
You can go
Okay.
there too.
Okay.
So it's a telescope has given Earthlings our first close-up view of the sun. And when they say close up, we'll post pictures in the chat room if you have, Mike, the ones I sent you.
I'm looking up the moon.
No, the sun.
Oh, because I found a weird moon I was going to post.
A weird moon. Really? Because I was just saying, I thought they've had a lot of.
No.
different-
This is literally like you'll
like
see
damn
the
near
pictures.
into it. Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So a telescope in Hawaii has produced the first images of the sun, revealing its turbulent gas surface in what scientists call unprecedented detail. The images show the surface covered with bright cell-like areas, each about the size of Texas, that result from the transporting of heat from the sun's interior. The bright spots in the middle of each cell show rising plasma that can reach 6,000 degrees Celsius or 10,800 degrees Fahrenheit before cooling and descending into black channels between the grains. The telescope can reveal features as small as 18 miles across, according to the National Science Foundation, which released the images last Wednesday. Further observations will help scientists understand and predict solar activity that can disrupt satellite communications and affect power grids. To unravel the sun's biggest mysteries, we have to not only be able to see these tiny structures from 93 million miles away, but very precisely measure their magnetic field strength and direction near the surface and trace the field as it extends out into the million-degree corona. So if you look at these pictures,
So to the people on Facebook, we can't post them on Facebook, but I did post them on the toxicradio.net /listen live chat room, where you can actually see that one of these cells that looks so tiny, it looks like almost like the inside of a beehive.
Yeah.
And it looks very tiny,
Right.
but then it has to scale the state of Texas that is pretty much the same size of one of these tiny cells,
Right.
to give you some
Right.
I think it kind of looks like melted gold.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. For Facebook, if my camera's up on the Facebook, I'm kind of, if it shows up
looks
on
like
my
popcorn
phone,
kernels.
You know, just so people on Facebook can kind of get an idea.
Does anybody have any popcorn?
But
so I'm going to show my age, and I'm going to say, see if you guys remember this stuff. The little golden nuggets bubble gum.
Yeah.
You remember that? You used to come in a little a can bag.
Right.
That's what that looks like.
and it's crazy because again, like I mean, like I said, I've seen images. Being the space geek that I am, I've seen close up images, but nothing like this. So you're right. It's like gold specks. You know, like you said, it's like golden nuggets. I mean, it blows my mind. I mean,
gold nugget. That's a gold casino in
Atlantic City. Absolutely, That's crazy.
It's also a good place to get wings. Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, right.
It's also a good strip club.
It was a while since I talked.
It all backs up to my theory that if you look at science, what is a cell? A nucleus with protons and neutrons circulating it, like our solar system. We're just a cell on something.
The protons and neutrons.
Like we're on
and
a
then
dog.
I feel like putting together a diagram right
That's
now.
what I'm saying. You got the sun, that's that nucleus in the middle, and you got all the planets circulating, like they're the protons and the neutrons, which is what a cell is made up of. I'm telling you, we could be on a dog's ass or something like that.
I'm sorry, but right now, Doug,
I could have tiny people on me like us, you know what I mean?
I'm giving you a D for your...
Hey, D for Doug.
I'll
take it.
That's what he said in high school, too.
D for Doug, I'll take it.
I know a song about the solar system, so if anyone wants to hear it ever, let me know.
No, I think everyone does.
A song?
Oh, you do want to hear it?
They used to even give me an H in school and I'd say that's for Hogate. I had my own grade.
Wow.
Mwah.
Alrighty then.
You're welcome, world.
Yeah, right? Last one here. Oregon comes into play here with some cattle mutilations.
All right. Orgasmic. Oregon orgasmic.
I mean,
tasty.
So this is not new and or unique, but it is something that popped up it was actually last fall this story was from. But I thought it was interesting because it pretty much encapsulates what's been going on in a lot of different places. And again, we talked a few minutes ago about these potential crypto-terrestrials taking us for our DNA.
Right.
This is also what's been happening to animals around the planet.
Which, from even way before they started coming out with the whole abduction stories, poor cows.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really really screwed.
So this says, not one drop of blood, cattle mysteriously mutilated in Oregon. In the early morning light, dust from hooves create a fog in the Sylvies Valley Ranch in remote eastern Oregon. Cowboys whistle and talk low to their eager herding dogs. They're moving the cattle from one vast sage-studded ranch to another. 5 young purebred bulls mysteriously show up dead on the ranch this past summer, drained of blood and with body parts precisely removed. The ranch vice president, Colby Marshall, drives his truck down to the U.S. Forest Service Road, and he says then we'll be able to take a little walk to where the bulls were found, and the carcass is still out there. So they go out there to one of these sites. And this is describing them coming up to the site. It says, coming up to one of the dead bulls, it's an eerie scene. It's hot out there at the time, very still, apart from birds, calling in the distance and whatnot. And the bull looks like a giant deflated plush toy. Now, if you see the picture on this story, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a children's toy that you let the air out of, because it's basically like just the skin of this bull is what's left. And apparently it smelled. It said, weirdly, there are no signs of buzzards, coyotes, or other scavengers. The red coat of the cow is shiny as if they were going to the fair, but he's bloodless, and his tongue and genitals have been surgically cut out. Marshall says these young livestock were just reaching their top value as breeding bulls. The animals are worth around $6,000 each. And since these were breeding bulls, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of future calves were also lost. Finding these, I guess they're Herefords in this remote country can sometimes take the ranch's experienced cowboys days. Ranch staff members are now required to ride in pairs and are encouraged to carry arms. So they basically think that people were doing this.
Right. Okay.
But if you look at these actual corpses of these cows, they if you ever see one of these things close up, you literally I've seen, and it's not to be, whatever, too graphic, but if you took an apple coring tool,
right,
and you put it down the middle of the apple and you you pop that in there and it pulls that apple core out in a complete circle.
Yeah.
That's how these cows like anuses are being removed, like a literal perfect circle being popped out of the cows.
But no, exactly.
Like, it's ridiculous. This is not a wolf or a coyote doing this.
No, it is it's unbelievable that the way that these procedures or whatever you want to call it are done. Yeah, it's mind blowing. I mean,
and a lot of times
unless you have some crazy scientist out there that's figured shit out, or a group of them. But it is. It's
and
crazy.
Right, and a lot of times you have UFO sightings around these.
Exactly.
The time of these mutilations, you have you've seen black helicopters, like I don't know if it's Men in Black or just black copters.
And plus, exactly. Men in Black. Plus, of course, you have
Galaxy
the whole
Defenders.
Whoa,
Are we in a break here now? No, anyway.
We
No.
might as well.
I've even that's a crazy thing too. Is you even hear the theories, of course, taken away from extraterrestrial. Like you hear some kind of crypto, like whether it's Bigfoot. But again, I don't think Bigfoot or any other crypto that's out there that
he's not working.
They're not working. Yeah, if he's out there, they just want to eat, so they're going to tear the shit out of it. So
yeah.
But yeah.
All right, why don't we take a break here?
Right. And unfortunately, I just posted my thing, everyone. I have to bounce, but I'll be back, next time we have the show. So, but enjoy the other half of these guys. So.
We'll have empty space where Doug was.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put a little cutout of Doug
there. Like if you can freeze it, like
where
I always talk with my hands. People don't see that until they see the video that I'm always like this, but just be like. Freeze me and
we'll just
anyway.
we'll put your picture of your face right there.
Yeah, exactly. I should get a cardboard cutout. We should all get cardboard cutouts of ourselves. If someone can't make it, just stick it right there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, but yeah, on my half, good night, everybody.
All right, and when we come back, we will do some Stump Skeptic Mike, and we'll get into our talk on some sea creatures.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh.
All right, back in a few. Back here on Paradelphia on Toxic Radio.
Oh, I guess. Oh, okay. I guess Mike didn't want me to talk.
I'm sorry, I was trying to juggle a bean and my bean.
Actually,
wow.
Trying to juggle my bean.
That's a whole other show, man.
That's another show. That's the stripper show.
All right, so I gotta eat this bean. Apparently.
Eat the bean. Eat it.
What's with the bean?
It's okay. It's
Is
bean.
it like being anally probed?
No, it's bean boozled. He either has barf, peach, dead fish, or strawberry banana smoothie. Go ahead,
I
Mike.
hope it's dead fish.
So,
I hope it's puke.
Only if you tell me put it in your mouth.
Put it in your mouth.
Put it in your mouth, Mike.
There you go. He's chewing it. What is it?
I want to see.
Don't chew it.
What is it?
I want to see the facial
It's like
reaction.
bubblegum flavor almost. Yeah.
Man, what the frig?
Oh, boo.
I know. That was lame.
That was good.
Give him another one.
I know. Just eat the entire contents.
Here, give me the box.
Here.
I think it says don't eat entire
We'll
content.
We'll try one more, and then we'll move on from this bit. So this one.
This will not be a weekly segment.
Oh man,
Mike
you're
eats
lame.
a bean.
All right, here's one that's either going to be peach, or barf, or dead fish.
Okay.
Again.
You got a 1 out of 3 chance.
Yep.
We appreciate hearing you chew.
Is it barf? Is it barf? Oh, it's barf.
Oh my God! It's bad.
See, is it the barf one, right? Okay,
That was so bad. How do they know what barf tastes like?
I am not kidding you. I had that one. I had that one time and I couldn't get the freaking taste out of my mouth for a week. It was disgusting.
I want to know what factory you work in where you have to you didn't quite get barf yet. You're almost there.
Imagine being the guy that has to test it. Nope, not quite yet.
Not quite. You're close. I know barf, and that's not barf. And then when you finally get it, he's like, yes, quality stamp.
Yep.
Stamp of approval.
Jesus Christ. Oh, that's so bad.
I know, and it gets in your nose cannula.
It's just sitting on my tongue.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst one. I'm telling you, I'd rather eat the dead fish one.
Now that's something that's out of this fucking world. Who knew that in our society, in our world, in today's world, that somebody would be able to take the flavor of regurgitated intestinal stuff and be able to say, I can make that flavor artificially into a jelly bean.
And have people actually buy it.
This makes me believe in Jesus.
It's a great time to be alive.
Mike, do you want to fight? Because we will fist fight.
This is a miracle, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Me and him are just one of these days just going to freaking fist fight. I'm telling you.
I'll fist fight you.
Boom, right in the chin.
Prove her wrong.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Mike.
All right, Mike, you want to do some skeptic, Mike?
Sure, why not?
What the hell?
From the dank, mildewed crypts far below Toxic Network Studio, it's Stump Skeptic Mike.
I love that guy's like lisp. He's like, Stump Skeptic Mike.
I had to pay extra for that.
For the lisp? Yeah. You're like, can you put a little extra lisp in there?
Right.
It's for my friend Mike.
I have a French Mike, and he's very skeptic. Can you do a voiceover for me?
It's called the Joaquin Phoenix.
That ain't even right.
Oh, God damn.
On Red Band Underground, I had a whole segment where I just went off on his hair lip and how much it bothers me in every movie I see with him.
Wait a minute.
The whole time, 20 minutes I went off on how every time I watch a movie, that hair lip takes me right out of it.
What do you mean hair lip? The lip on his hair? Or are you talking about his cleft lip?
It's a cleft.
That's that's a legitimate medical. Like, he can't help that. You douche.
Yeah, you're fucked up, Mike.
That is really messed up.
I say they green screen it out. I don't care what they have to do. They gotta get it out.
Well, everyone, thank you for the nice. It's been a good 6 years at Paradelphia. And Genevieve's out.
I'm sorry, but listen.
They green screen it out.
Whenever they have like a movie where he's playing somebody who didn't have a cleft hair lip, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when they didn't have that and he's playing somebody that didn't have that, but he has it,
it's not
takes
that,
you right out of it.
It's not that noticeable. Like, when I was watching him play Johnny Cash, like, I didn't say, Johnny Cash didn't have a cleft lip.
It's comparable to if you had a movie about Ronald Reagan and you and you casted like Eddie Murphy to play Ronald Reagan. It's taking you right out of the movie.
No, that is completely
It's not. It's the same thing.
You're canceled.
What was
for
in
the
that
night.
jelly bean, LSD?
For real. I think somebody.
And then when it's on the big screen, it's like 5 feet tall. God damn it!
Wow.
Mike.
Punch it right in the friggin' stupid hair lip.
This might be a segment.
Oh, my. I can't believe you.
If you bring up Joaquin Phoenix every episode, I will go off for at least 5 to 10 minutes.
I am literally going to.
About how much it bothers me.
I'm going to kick him before the end of the night.
I want to cut it
on
off.
behalf of everyone with some kind of physical.
We're gonna get the guy who does the Stump Skeptic Mike to say Joaquin's lip.
Stop. He's gonna find you, be like, listen, take away my sound off of your radio station.
You sound like somebody I beat up in friggin' elementary school.
Dude's
I want to come over and punch you and give you a wedgie.
Dude's way too serious too. Like, just see with the Oscars, all
dude,
fucking serious and
don't
shit.
Don't be that serious,
right.
Dude. Your lip is dancing. Leave me alone.
I'm officially shutting the mic off and leaving the studio. I am not. I just want to let it be known I'm not laughing at this. I am disappointed.
She's smiling though.
No, I'm not.
Oh my God.
There you go, Mike.
I'm frowning.
Look at it. Oh my God.
I happen to think he's hot. I'm sorry, and I have always thought since Signs. Whew. Yes, Daddy.
I think that hair lip is a sign. I
think it's sexy. I think he is one sexy mofo.
I don't know how, but I'm looking at a picture and I think it waved at me.
Michael, your mother is listening, and I hope she disowns you.
Oh my God.
She would. You know why?
Because she's probably heard way worse.
Because I don't have a hair lip.
Oh fuck.
I'm literally leaving. I am leaving.
Hell, my friend. See you in hell.
Yeah. That's his theme song.
All right. So
sorry, so we're going to this.
Let's try and reel this in.
Stump Skeptic Mike.
My God.
I can't. The picture's on the screen. Let me delete it.
Yeah.
Get out of here, you hair lip. All right, it's gone.
All right, so Stump Skeptic Mike, for anybody who's unaware, this is a segment we do every week where we tell Mike 3 different headlines that are paranormal headlines. One of them is an actual headline. The other two are made-up headlines, and he has to figure out which one is the real headline. Now, last week, or 2 weeks ago, he actually won this for the first time, and it's been literally months, maybe years.
We need a tally.
It might have been years, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't think you actually won this since I came back to Toxic. Whenever the hell that was.
No, it wasn't. That was the first one last week. Real fast, just a little little statement for anybody in the chat room on the Toxic site. If you put a picture of Joaquin Phoenix up, it will be deleted every time.
Because he feels bad for what he said.
Forewarned. No, I don't, because I don't want to stare at that
atrocity.
I'm going to throw my UGG at his head. I'm telling you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, Mike.
So this is how we do this. He's gonna give me some stories.
All right, here we go. 3 headlines. First headline: Elon Musk plans to build TV that broadcasts from another dimension.
Ooh.
What?
Elon Musk plans to build TV that broadcasts from another dimension.
No, he doesn't.
Is he the Tesla guy? Does he own Tesla?
No.
Oh.
Number 2.
Who he is, though.
Number 2. UN workers withdrawn from African town plagued by vampires.
Ooh.
UN workers?
UN, United Nations. UN workers withdrawn from African town plagued by vampires.
I bless the rain.
In Africa.
In
Africa.
Good one.
Sing the rest of it.
It's because they bless the rains. Right, that's the words, exactly. Number 3, sharks off Chinese coast turn to cannibalism due to lack of tourists.
Ooh.
Wait, dude, what? Wait, that just hurt my brain.
Sharks off Chinese coast turn to cannibalism due to lack of tourists.
Sharks will eat anything, though.
What?
The coronavirus is even affecting the sharks.
That's me. I'll eat anything.
Anything.
So we have Elon Musk building a TV to broadcast from another dimension, UN workers withdrawn from an African town plagued by vampires, or sharks off the Chinese coast turn to cannibalism because of lack of tourists.
What's it going to be?
Now, first off, sharks cannibalism, this means they're eating other sharks.
Yeah, they're eating other, yep, exactly.
Because, I mean, it's not, well, because, I mean, is it cannibalism if they're eating other fish?
No.
I think that this was one of Rick's brain faux pas. So he came up with this one.
Big word, writing it down.
I know, I just wrote it down. Joaquin Phoenix, can't say that word.
Stop it, Mike!
It's because of the bottom. It's because of the upper lip. The upper lip doesn't allow him to say
it. Literally, strike 2. Strike 2 or the Uggs go into your head.
It's not his fault. The lip.
It's not his fault, so why are you making fun of him?
I'm not making fun of him. He just can't say certain words. Anyway, sharks, cannibalism due to lack of tourists, but sharks do not necessarily search out people. It's usually by accident or confusion. They actually do not technically look to eat people. So I'm going to say one right off the list. I'm going to say that is Rick's messed up mind while he has nothing better to do at work. All right. So the other one, UN workers withdraw withdrew. What? Say it again.
UN workers withdrawn from an African town plagued by vampires.
Plagued by vampires. All right, so we're going to come back to that one. Elon Musk, TV, another dimension.
Who is Elon Musk?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know who he is.
He makes the cologne called Musk.
Legit?
Yeah, absolutely.
You lie. I can't believe anything Rick says. Who is he?
Joaquin Phoenix figures it.
He would probably know.
But he only sprays it on his upper lip. He feels like it masks it.
Who is Elon Musk?
She's asking Siri.
I think he made Tesla. Oh. He's not cute.
Wow.
Joaquin Phoenix, cute.
Elon Musk, not so much.
He's one of the most powerful people in the world. Wait, this is Wiki. Anyway, continue, Mike. I'll find out who this John is.
Wiki. So Elon Musk, I'm going to say is false. I'm going to say that Rick, if he could, would be the first human being to have a television show from another dimension.
He did find Tesla. Thank you. Knew it. He is the owner of Tesla. The car with the handles. No, Tesla's the expensive car everyone wants that the handles go in the car itself when you're driving. Or not using it.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I know him because he owns Tesla.
All right.
Thank you. Just putting it out.
Probably
there.
has some physical deformity if Jen knows him.
All right,
I'm okay with it.
UN workers withdraw from Africa town due to vampires. I'm going to say that one is the true story because it has something to do with the headline. That is my final answer. Rick, tell me I won.
All right, so the first one that is not true is Elon Musk building a TV from another dimension.
There you go.
Yep, he's too busy with his cars.
The second one, not true, is the cannibalistic sharks. Mike, 2 in a row.
What?
2 in a row.
Thank you.
Boo.
Thank you. Wait, no, don't stop. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I would like to say thank you to everybody that believed in me and not to that hairlet.
So the story is
my God.
From an article from earthchronicles.com. It says, in Malawi, which is in Africa, vampires attack people and suck blood from them. It's a really riveting headline. Really creative headline. It says, residents in the African country of Malawi are in a state close to panic. Already several dozen people said that they were attacked by, quote, midnight vampires and who sucked blood from them. People are so frightened that 7 lancers have already been killed by vigilante detachments suspected of being vampiric. The threat has become so serious that UN workers and volunteers from the U.S. Peace Corps were withdrawn from Malawi. The hysteria about vampires in Malawi began in September. We reported about it on this site, and it seems that by December it did not abate, although UN staff decided to return after the heat of September. Local residents claim that all of this is not hysteria and not rumors, but real facts. 40-year-old Jamia Bulani tells that something alien entered her house and attacked her and then began to suck her blood. Jamia lives in the village of, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this name, it's like 47 letters, in the south of the country, and this village was in the center of the vampire hysteria. It's not rumors. It sucked my blood. I know it. I lay on the bed at night and suddenly saw a light in the corner of the roof. I could not move a hand or a foot, and then something very pierced. I'm just reading what it says there. Something. They write this so fucked up. Then something very pierced my hand, and I felt pain.
That was my last date.
Jemiah, who works selling a rag out of wild peas, whatever the hell that is.
She peed on what?
A rag out of wild peas. I don't know if that's like a bushel or whatever. Says that before she lost consciousness from the loss of blood, she heard a sound as if someone ran on the floor. After that night, the woman was taken to the hospital, and she was treated there, taking medicine and vitamins. She did not inform the authorities that she had been attacked, but there are many such cases in and around the district. Here they believe in witchcraft, vampires, and black magic, and people crave revenge on those who attack them. Another victim is a 27-year-old Florence Kalung, who said that she slept at night in her house next to her husband and suddenly saw the light as if a fire had been lit in the house. Then she heard the sound of a half-open door, and then a pain began in her finger as if a needle had been stuck into it. The entrepreneur Orlando Chapanda miraculously escaped death from vigilantes who saw in his house, quote, sucker of blood. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. He says that he was lucky that they did not manage to get him. Orlando called the police, who drove people away from his house. It does not really matter to them whether you are a vampire or not. They envy the rich and attack any... Okay, so I guess he was rich. The people attacked him for whatever reason. They thought he was the sucker of blood because he had money. I don't know. So this sounds more like a class war than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the blood-sucking part is probably just the excuse to attack the rich people.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Anytime I want to attack somebody, I use an excuse of somebody sucked my blood.
But regardless, this is your second win in a row, Mike. You're on an actual streak.
Wow.
Again, I'd like to thank all the little people.
And all the big people, too, because they matter.
Do they?
They do. I was big.
But now you're not, so you're part of the people that matter now.
But I didn't matter when I was big?
What if he means tall?
Yeah, you don't know what if I mean down there big?
How do you know I'm not that either?
If you are,
How do you know I'm not a drag queen?
I'm just saying, if you've got two two coconuts, and a banana, I'm getting hungry.
Nanner cakes.
Oh my! All right, so let's move on here. Since we have Fish here for the night and we're running actually low on time here.
Hashtag kill the lip.
Kill the lip.
Oh my gosh! It's not even funny. It's not. It's all lip service. No, don't feed into it. He'll stop if you don't.
I'm sorry.
If you just
me in.
ignore him.
I might have to change the title of the show.
I was actually just writing it down for that. It's all lip service.
It's all lip service. So sea creatures, sea creatures, and sea myths. So there's the common ones that you hear all the time, the mermaids, and you hear the kraken and things like that. But there's a whole lot of different ones from around the world that are very interesting that aren't really quote unquote mainstream creatures that people believe in. All right, the first one we're going to talk about is called a rusalka.
Ooh, exotic.
All right, the rusalka is in Russia or in Slavic folklore, and it is a female entity, often malicious towards mankind and frequently associated with water. Folklorists have proposed a variety of origins for the entity, including that they may have originally stemmed from Slavic paganism, where they may have been seen as benevolent spirits. Rusalki appear in a variety of media in modern pop culture, particularly in Slavic-speaking countries, where they frequently resemble the concept of a mermaid. All right, so this, to get a little more in detail here, it talks a little bit about this in the, of all things, Encyclopedia Britannica. These things are apparently well known.
Okay.
There's still encyclopedias?
There are. Well, they're online now, but yeah.
I thought the encyclopedia is just that everything's online. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So this gets a little more detail with this, and they, instead of the female figure, like a adult female, this is talking about Slavic mythology, where these are lake-dwelling souls of children who died unbaptized, or of a virgin who was drowned in the lake, which might be the origin of the adult female. So Slavs of different areas have assigned different personalities to the Rusalki around the Danube River, where they're called Vile. They are beautiful, charming girls, dressed always in light robes of mist, singing sweet, bewitching songs to the passerby. The Rusalki of northern Russia are ugly, unkempt, wicked, invariably naked, and always eager to ambush humans. All Rusalki love to entice men, the Vile, V-I-L-E, however you say that, to enchant them, and the northern Rusalki to torture them. So this sounds a lot. We had Varla Ventura on a couple different times, and we had her on one time talking about mermaids.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a book on mermaids, and this sounds a lot like mermaid lore. Now, it said that this wasn't a mermaid specifically, but it sounds like it's roughly got the same makings.
Please refresh my memory. Are mermaids real?
Are mermaids real?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. According to her book, they are.
But then again, according to who you talk to, anything is real.
Mike, you really want a fist fight tonight.
What? All I said was literally you could.
That's why you looked at me like that. The camera's right there. Let's do a replay. He was.
But literally, anybody you can talk to any group of people. We talked about this one time that anything that you believe in or any propaganda that you want to put out there, you can have a group online that all believe the same thing. So there's so many people out there. Again, flat earthers. People will believe in anything and will get together in a group to support each other in this thought process.
But what was the origin? There's always an origin somewhere of stories like this.
But scientifically, they never actually proved that mermaids were real.
No, I mean scientifically, we haven't caught one. No,
right?
Well, here's
they're like Bigfoot.
But these myths or these creatures from back in the day that became these myths, these stories that they passed on, was before science, before understanding of things, before you were able to fly and drive places where you would walk, weeks or months from one point to another. You'd get into another area of a continent where creatures that you were not familiar with in any way, shape, or form were there that you never even knew about, that people just would tell stories of to others, but in their own way. And these are how these creatures became a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like anything else. If you don't, yeah, I get what you're saying. If you didn't have science to back you up, and it's kind of like thunder and lightning. What is thunder and lightning? Well, we know what it is now. It's atmospheric changes. But back then, it was the gods, pissed off or bowling or whatever, But you get the idea.
I get the idea. I would love I love the thought process of some kind of mermaid creature. And you've seen, like in Ripley's Believe It or Not, when you walk through the museum, quote museum, you see like, half man, half fin, whatever, that they've thrown together. The idea is really cool. Do I think it was in some way, shape, or form possible millions and millions of years ago?
Well, technically, according to like evolution, we were like mermaids. We had fins and heads and faces.
So you're saying fish was a fish?
Well, then why is there still fish and tadpoles if that's what we apparently
Are you saying fish has a tadpole?
What?
Mike is not even drunk tonight.
I was going to say, I'm confused.
You say fish has a tadpole.
Well,
oh my gosh, everything's got to be about wieners.
Don't worry about my tadpole.
If you look at the gestation of a human being, at one point you looked like a tadpole.
True.
You had a tail.
Yeah,
we
all had a tail at one point.
So, I mean, could it have been something that did not get beyond that point and was born that way? Who knows? Maybe.
Doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M.
What?
Baby, I was born this way. That's a song. Never mind. Gosh, Rick.
Good Lord.
Gosh, get out of 1983.
No.
Hey.
No, I will not.
I think one day me and Rick need to switch lives.
No.
How Taryn wouldn't be able to handle me.
I think you need.
John would be all about it. Like, yeah, it's cool.
I think Jenna B needs to go back in time and go on the heavy metal happy hour and sit here.
I'm down.
While we rock out to 80s metal.
I'm down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Could you handle this? Do you think, Fishman?
Whoa.
Yeah, because I control the microphone.
See, Larry, she's talking and singing too much. Turn her the F off.
She'll be cut off in an instant.
They'd be like, time for her to go.
Yeah. All right. Next one we're going to talk about here
Who
is.
invited her?
Next one we're going to talk about is sea monks.
Ooh.
Up your alley, Jen. Religious.
Sea monks.
Sea monks.
I
used to have sea monkeys when I was a kid.
I had those too.
Sea monks, sea bishops, and the mysterious Umabozu of Japan.
I know her.
Ooh,
absolutely, we all know her, Mike. The seas of Japan were once considered a perilous place, inhabited by a rogues gallery of roving monsters and vengeful ghosts. Whether it was a sea serpent or supernatural entities, Japanese sailors were constantly wary of the dangers the seas could throw at them. Some of the most feared apparitions were known as the Umabozi, terrifying creatures said to be the spirit of drowned priests. Umabozi were said to be massive creatures that struck fear in the hearts of seafarers. These monstrosities were typically described as black or gray in color, with slick, slippery skin and enormous eyes that were sometimes said to glow. The arms of the beasts were variously depicted as small and fin-like, and sometimes described as serpentine or similar to tentacles. The head of these creatures were humanoid, with the appearance of a priest's shaved head, hence the namesake Umabozi, in which umi means sea, and bozu, the style of shaved head typically found on Japanese priests. These enormous leviathans were said to haunt and terrorize sailors and fishermen, smashing boats or dragging people to their doom. The Umabozu were so feared that many fishermen refused to go out onto the water if one was reported to be in the vicinity, and weapons were typically carried on deck in case one of the monsters was encountered. It was quite typical for boats to make speed toward the shore at the first sign of any perceived Umabozu activity, often indicated by huge black shapes under the water or inexplicable disturbances on the surface. Now, what does this sound like? Anyone? Take a guess.
Nessie.
Not Nessie,
no.
but what did people think that mermaids were? Well, it could be one of a couple things.
Pirates.
No.
Jack Sparrow.
For God's sake.
I don't know.
How about either sea lions or manatees.
I have a question. Where did that have an origin of
Japan?
From Japan? Because when I was in Ireland, I remember reading something similar to that.
Oh yeah.
They had a very They had a very interesting back in like BC and stuff, or there was like or I don't think there was probably AD, I'm sure, but it was like they had like a monk community in Ireland.
Yeah, a lot of them,
yeah, and they like I remember reading something about something along those lines. I have it at home in like a pamphlet.
Well, one of these in here I think might be from Ireland. Let's move on to the next one. It's called a Grindy-Low.
Ooh.
A Grindy-Low.
Grindy-Low.
Grindy-Loo.
Grindy-Loo who?
Grindy-Low who? Let's see. This is from British Ferries.
I love British Ferries.
I know a few.
I know a few British ferries.
You just love all ferries, Mike.
Because we are accepted here. Have acceptance here at Toxic Radio.
Yes, I accept all.
All.
Except
for guys with cleft palates.
I'm gonna get him on the show one day, and he's gonna cuss you out, and I'm gonna laugh the whole time.
You won't be able to understand him.
Stop it! Homeboy has a freaking Oscar. Do you have an Oscar, Rick?
I do.
No, you don't.
I have a fish named Oscar.
Shut up! Get out my face. Out my face.
Mike's got a fish named Fish.
Look at that.
I spank it.
Oh gosh.
All right. So this says in this post
only on Saturdays.
They want to explore a particular form of British fairy, the freshwater mermaid or water sprite. Mere, meaning a lake, pond, lake or pool, is an Old English word that forms the basis of mermaid. So there you go, mermaid. Although, of course, this almost exclusively is used in reference to the sea fairy now. Nonetheless, the idea of an inland mermaid is very ancient, and the oldest of these is very likely found in the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf, in the ghastly shape of the mother of the monster Grendel.
I remember reading Beowulf in high school.
Absolutely. Majority of our freshwater mermaids share something with Grendel's mother. They are dangerous, if not fatal, to humans. A very good example of this is a creature dwelling in the Black Mirrey at Morridge in Staffordshire, England. No animals would drink the water, and birds were said to avoid flying overhead. This was probably because the mermaid used to seize passers-by at midnight and drown them. When an attempt was made to drain the mere, or lake, she emerged and threatened to engulf the whole of the nearby town of Leek in its waters. Hence the term leak, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Wisely, the work was abandoned and never restarted. Other mere maidens include those of ponds, pools, and meres at Fordham, Cambridgeshire, and Suffolk in Rendlesham, and most notably at the Mermaid Pits, Fordham All Saints. All these beings came out at night to drag down their victims. Most are anonymous, but a few have been given names. For example, Jenny Greenteeth.
That's what they call me on the weekend.
Who has been encountered at
I want to know where and how.
That's a whole other story.
Just use your imagination.
I am, and I don't know if you want to know where it's going.
Kermit's happy.
I eat a lot of salads on the weekend, you freak.
Kermit's happy.
It was good enough he said it twice.
That was funny.
Most are anonymous, but a few have been given, I read this, Jenny Greenteeth, who has been encountered at Ellesmere in Shropshire, as well as Lancashire and Cumbria.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Grindy-Low, we finally get to Grindy-Low, in Yorkshire, and Nellie Longarms. It's like a date Mike had last week. And the widespread
that was her name.
And the widespread rawhead and bloody bones.
Good Lord. This is going all kinds of ways.
In Scotland, one encounters the Fidial, in an evil spirit who haunts Loch Naffidial near Gairloch in the Northwest Highlands. She is often regarded as a personification of the entangled bog grasses and water weeds. So anyway, these go on, and it sounds like what this is these people make these stories up to keep their kids away from the water, to keep them from being drowned.
Yeah.
Does that not make sense?
It makes 100% sense. And with a lot of stories, it was for fear. It was to keep whoever to control them.
Sounds like
fear.
religion.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
I'm just not going to even touch on that one.
Everyone looks at Jen when he said
that. We only got 19 minutes of the show left, so
ain't nobody pricking anything in here.
Let's not go there.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is the legend of the River Conway Afonk.
I love that guy. He was a great comedian.
Afonk.
Oh, sorry.
It is said there was a period in time when the good folk who lived along the Conway Valley were constantly plagued with terrible floods that both drowned their livestock and ruined their crop. The cause of this destruction to people's farms and livelihood was not, however, a natural occurrence. All knew the floods were caused by the Afonk. The Afonk was a legendary Welsh water monster, likened, some have said, to Loch Ness Monster. The Afonk lived in, and I'm going to try this. Oh, well, this is the Afonk Pool. There's a spelling here that's, I guess, Scottish. I couldn't begin to, but it's the Afonk Pool in the River Conway. It was a gigantic beast who, when annoyed, was strong enough to break the banks of the pool, causing the floods. Many attempts had been made to kill him, but it seems that his hide was so tough that no spear, arrow, or man-made weapon could pierce it. The wise men of the valley had held a meeting and decided that if force wouldn't work, then the Afonk must somehow be enticed out of his pool and removed to a lake far away beyond the mountains where he could cause no further trouble. Mm-hmm. The lake chosen to be the Afonk's new home was Llyn Fidden Lochs, under the dark, imposing shadow of Mount Snowdon. Preparation started right away. The finest blacksmith in the land forged a strong iron chain that would be required to bind and secure the Afonk. And then they sent for Hu Gardan and his 2 long-horned oxen, the mightiest oxen in Wales, to come to whatever the hell the town is. One minor problem, though, how to coax the Afonk out of his lake, bind him with chains, and then hitch him to the oxen. That's a pretty big problem.
Right.
It appears...
That was as soon as they said, we're going to move them. I'm like, how?
Yeah. Good plan, but how? It appears the Afonk, like many other ugly old monsters... Mike, I'm waiting. Ugly old monster... you missed it.
Joaquin Phoenix?
There you go. There it is.
He's not even old. Rick, you're older than him.
Was very partial to beautiful young women, and one maiden in particular, the daughter of a local farmer.
The hair lip adds 10 years.
Was brave enough to volunteer for the quest. The girl approached the Afonk's lake while her father and the rest of the men remained hidden a short distance away. Standing on the shore, she called softly to him. The waters began to heave and churn, and through it appeared a huge head of the monster. Although tempted to turn and run, the girl bravely stood her ground, gazed fearlessly into the monster's green-black eyes, began to sing a gentle Welsh lullaby. And slowly the massive great body of the Afonk crawled out of the lake toward the girl. So sweet was the song, the Afonk's head slowly sank to the ground in slumber. One hell of a song.
In slumber. That sounds relaxing.
The girl signaled to her father, and he and the rest of the men emerged from their hiding place, set about binding the Afonk, and long story short, they drag him to a new lake. So they basically use this guy's daughter as bait to bait the Afonk.
But all she had to do was sing.
Daughter?
But all she had to do was sing. And let me tell you something. On a legit level, have you ever looked up Welsh? People singing Welsh.
People singing Welsh?
Like in Welsh. It is, I'm not kidding you, it is beautiful. Like there are people that legit have like albums of them singing in the woods, like in the mountains, and just
singing in the woods,
using the echo of like the woods and the echo of like the mountains. Oh my gosh, just YouTube it. It's really beautiful.
Trippy.
I mean, I would trip probably on them if I was on a mountain singing Welsh.
All right, the last one here is local, and this is one I've always wanted to go out and see, and it's not too far away from here. And you're going to laugh at the name. Okay. I know you are.
Okay.
The Blue Hole.
Oh, I've heard about it. Fish has like been there a few times.
One of the most storied sites in all of southern New Jersey is a mysterious body of water known as the Blue Hole, located deep in the Pine Barrens of Winslow on the border of Camden and Gloucester counties. This small but legendary pool is said to not only be bottomless, but also a frequent stop of the Jersey Devil.
The Blue Hole is bottomless.
Though it's,
oh my gosh!
Though its icy blue-tinged water might seem inviting, especially on a hot summer day, locals warn their children to stay away from the blue hole and never go swimming there. Tales of unexplained whirlpools that suck down hapless swimmers have long been part of the hole's lore. Some who have been lucky enough to escape its clutches have claimed that they actually felt something, perhaps the Jersey Devil himself, pulling them down in the chilly depths. The bottom of the blue hole, if there is indeed a bottom, is said to be made of fine sand, sometimes referred to as sugar sand, which locals liken to quicksand. When this is from what is this from here? Weird, New Jersey. So they went out there. So it says where am I at here? When we visited, meaning them, the notorious hole, we found ourselves navigating through narrow pineland trails made up of this same treacherous sand. Sure that any moment our Jeep would get hopelessly bogged down, and we decided to ditch the vehicle and they set out on foot. Beautiful autumn day, birds chirping, blah, blah, blah. So it says the surface of the blue hole was still as glass, and a thermometer that we brought to measure the temperature read a chilly 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So the water was only 50 degrees on a hot day. So that's odd to begin with. Although the water was crystal clear, we could see no signs of life in the hole whatsoever, no fish, no insects, nothing. There was something unsettling about the void, and suddenly it seemed easy to imagine why people might warn their children not to venture into the water. Although it might have a bad reputation now, this was not always the case with the Blue Hole. In the 1930s, the site was a popular picnic spot and swimming hole among the locals. In the 1940s, though, a storm washed out a wooden bridge over nearby Egg Harbor River, cutting off the main access route to the Blue Hole. Ever since then, it has remained isolated in a dense forest of scrub pines, accessible only by foot or off-road vehicle.
Damn.
The Blue Hole was approximately 130 feet across, almost perfectly round, and has steep banks. Its water remains curiously cold even in the hottest summer months, averaging about 58 degrees. Unlike most bodies of water in the Pine Barrens, which bear a coloration similar to tea, due to the high content of iron, tannic acid, and suspended sediment, the water of the Blue Hole is perfectly clear. There are several theories as to how the hole came to be. Some say that it's a result of a meteor striking the Earth. Others claim it's what geologists called a pingo. A pingo is a small body of water which is the result of an ice mass which forms beneath permanently frozen soil during the Ice Age. The ice mass expands for thousands of years, then breaks through the permafrost to create a depression rimmed by a small hill. When the climate warms, the ice melts, forming a pool. But what about the fabled whirlpools, or what the locals refer to as whirly pools, which are said to drag down unsuspecting swimmers to their watery grave? How could such a current exist in a seemingly placid body of water? One explanation for this might be the Blue Hole is fed by groundwater, not nearby streams. This fact accounts for why the water does not contain the same murky color as the river, and might also be the reason for the mysterious surges of current. Scientific rationale does little to lessen the mysteries of this curious body of water, though it seems to run as deep as the hole itself. So that is one that is not real far from here, and I have always had the idea to go out there and do a little piece on the Blue Hole.
So next week we will be broadcasting live from the Blue Hole.
From the Blue Hole.
Why they call it blue if it's not blue? That pisses me off.
That pisses you off. That pisses you off.
You're called white, but you're not white.
Got me. Got me there. Got me, pal.
So
I just want to throw Joaquin Phoenix into the Blue Hole.
Oh my gosh. I would chase after him. I would grab his lip with my teeth.
Dude, why do you have to go for the lip?
Wow.
Because it's all you're talking about.
By the way, he's got a little cave right there in his lip, so your tooth would just slide right off.
Oh, Jesus.
Fish, I would just hang up. I would be so embarrassed to be on this show as a guest with this guy talking bad about Joaquin.
Why does this? Do you know him personally? Why does this bother you?
By the way, Fish isn't hanging up. He already titled the show with lip service.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
So those are some of the legends, lores of the sea, and one from a local area around here, which hopefully one of these days we'll get around to getting out to and maybe filming for ourselves.
That would be fun. Is there like an address to that hole?
Blue Hole.
But you didn't talk about Aquaman.
Aquaman, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We can do a crossover on your show, and then we'll talk about Aquaman between songs.
There you go.
Sound like a plan.
I'll wear my Aquaman underoos.
And nothing else.
I actually had them.
Nothing.
Fish. I had Aquaman. I had all of them.
I used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should buy them and wear them in the studio one day.
We should.
I'm here for it.
I agree.
We should.
That'll be the day that we. Oh wait, that wasn't this show. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up now.
Keep in mind
it was the stripper show.
It was.
Keep in mind we're in video now.
I know.
Yeah.
We can't do the pill challenge.
All right, why don't we take a break? Why don't we take a break here? We'll come back and we will start wrapping things up. All right, we're back here on Paradelphia on Toxic Radio, and Genevieve just fed us Twix, so I'm trying to scarf down the Twix while I'm talking here.
I'm eating peanut butter crackers.
What the hell was that? I think that was a demon.
Probably.
Demon be gone.
Be gone!
What the hell is wrong with you? Don't you realize this is radio? It's an audible medium that needs to go out to people's ear holes.
Mike, I would have said your mom 800 times tonight, but I love your mom. So,
Ma, did you
your
hear
toe.
Ma, did you
Your
hear
toe.
that?
She doesn't like your toe, Mike.
Ma, did you hear that?
I love Mama Toxic because I know she don't like her name being said.
She doesn't. You say her name, she will come to get you
No.
in your sleep.
Ah, boy. All right, so that's going to be the show for the night. I want to thank Fishman for coming on. And again, Fish, why don't you let everybody know where they can find your kick-ass show?
Hey, every Saturday night right here on Toxic Radio, 7 o'clock. Join in on the party.
And do they have any?
And in fact, this Saturday we're broadcasting live from Atlantic City, the big celebrity boxing event.
Oh,
Ooh.
very cool. Very
Broadcasting live from the showboat.
I'm coming.
Do you have any social media you want to throw out there for people to get a hold of you?
Facebook, of course, the Heavy Metal Happy Hour, W/the Fishman, that Fishman1 on Twitter. And just, chime in, rock and roll, have a good time.
And also, Fishman does have his own podcast version of his show for just his interviews because Fishman is such an amazing interviewer. So if you enjoy listening to this show, the Paradelphia podcast, go over and check out the Fishman interviews available over at toxicradio.net, also on the app, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcast. Check out the Fishman interviews. He has an amazing interview that we just posted up the other week with Reggie Woo.
Woo!
Yeah,
what a fun name.
Guitar player.
Yeah.
And to hear Fishman on the mic is something else, man. He is a pro's pro on the mic.
Yeah, so if you don't have time to listen live, definitely check out the podcasted version of the Fishman interviews.
All right.
Oh, you guys are very kind.
All right, so I want to thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook, if you were doing that, or listening, if you were doing that. Podcast listeners, thanks for downloading us. Thanks for downloading us in the future. Genevieve's giving you all kisses for some unexplicable reason.
On the camera.
They're chocolate-covered kisses.
Chocolate-covered kisses.
Taco kisses.
Look what I just did to her.
From South Park.
She just pooped herself.
I've been farting this whole time, and ain't none of y'all known it. None of y'all.
We got that.
That's the kind of experience. That's the kind of experience we need on the Fishman show on Saturdays.
I'm coming on a show of yours, Fish.
Oh boy!
Get ready
for me.
Lock
the doors.
Lock the doors.
And get the Febreze.
Fish, I'm praying for you, man. If she comes on your show, goddamn, I'm praying for you.
Rick
Thank
loves
you,
it.
brother.
All right, Fish, thanks for showing up. Coming on the show tonight. We'll definitely be looking forward to your show this weekend and every Saturday night for the Kick-Ass Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, and I will definitely be tuning in, man. I dig your show. It's cool. Like I said, the wife and kids, they love it. So, they're all into that.
And they have stories to tell. We're going to have to get them on air.
Yes.
Oh, my God. They've got plenty. If you let them call in, dude, your whole show will be their phone call.
We'll plan it out. All right, guys.
All right, my friend.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Mike, Jenna B.
Yes.
Doug, if you're still listening, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, that's
thanks for
it.
Our video guy in the background. I'm sorry, I forget your name right now. Thanks for listening. This is Paradelphia, and we are out of here.
Yeah.